Yo, what is good, YouTube? It's your boy Leach, back here with another reaction video. Make sure y'all hit that sub button and turn them noties on it. Make sure y'all follow the socials on screen to be much appreciated. I give thanks to the man above for another day. God bless. I love y'all, man. And yeah, let's get right into it. As y'all can see, former Indiana backup QB Alberto Mendoza is going to transfer to Georgia Tech.
To HQ, former Indiana backup
brother of 2025 Heisman Trophy
Mendoza
winner Fernando
with Georgia
Mendoza.
Tech. Again, this is breaking news. Our Chris Hummer verifying that.
I like this move for Georgia Tech because they don't have a quarterback.
Fernando Mendoza, who led the
Hoosiers Alberto,
to win
who doesn't have that much
Miami
experience,
in the national championship game last night.
Sat behind his brother.
So let's welcome in Chris Hummer, Cooper Patagna. Chris, we'll start with you. People don't know. He was there. His brother came in, became the starting quarterback, and now he is moving on because there is a transfer from TCU heading to Indiana. So what do we need to know about this and also about the signing?
Yeah, a little bit like the Tonga Valoa little brother who eventually moved on from Alabama to go to Maryland. We're seeing Fernando Mendoza's little brother move on from Indiana to go to Georgia Tech to be their eventual starter. Georgia Tech just signed him out of the portal. Likely to be Georgia Tech's starter after they lost their presumed starter going into next year.
I mean, obviously.
So this is a big
like
swing.
I said, he don't got that much experience. So
Alberto Mendoza,
that, but
I think he's only taken around 100 career snaps. He's thrown 25 career passes, so he's a very unproven guy. But he clearly has some upside that Georgia Tech's intrigued by. He's got a last name that's certainly going to resonate.
You got to think, he sat behind his brother, who just won a Heisman, bro. So like,
Alberto Mendoza.
Yeah,
and by the way, congrats to Indiana Hoosiers on winning the national championship. That game,
all the way to high school, 14-1 as a starter when he took over for Fernando, a guy that completed 72% of his passes and was really clean, taking care of the football. And like Chris said, there's not a huge sample size at what he's done at Indiana over 2 years.
What a hell of a season for Miami!
Passing attempts.
Even though they fell
this
short.
is a guy that's maximized his opportunities: 5 touchdowns, 1 INT. He's a
Beck.
little bit more athletic than you think. The arm doesn't wow you, but in terms of the timing, the anticipation, the ball placement, even in the short amount of time that we've seen him, you can understand why Brent Key, Georgia Tech, would want to take a swing on this opportunity for Alberto Mendoza. Obviously, a lot of other teams out there were very complimentary of his game as well. So we'll see what happens with him, but certainly a guy that I think a lot of teams out there has power for starting upside.
How much do you think?
But like, obviously, it's going to be rocky at first once he gets to
just being
Tech,
able to watch his brother go through that process and get to the national championship. Cooper, we'll start with you.
Yeah, that's a great question. I think the fact that they both had comparable passes.
Just imagine winning a national
both these guys were kind of under recruited. So you see, Fernando was a guy that was committed to Yale at one point of his process before he ended up at Cal, then ultimately transfers to Indiana, kind of overlooked, finds the right fit at Indiana, able to maximize all those pieces around him, and then putting the cherry on top of the national championship game. It's definitely something that I think he takes a lot from. And, you know, we talk about quarterback development, being able to sit for 2 years, and then who else to look up to other than your brother and watch him put together
that's what I'm saying. I think that definitely helped him out a lot.
Obviously have to go through some adversity at different points of the season. I think he's in a prime position to take everything that he's learned over the last 2 years and apply that to the job at Georgia Tech.
Yeah, Fernando Mendoza passed on some like traditional blue bloods like Georgia to go to Indiana and to play with his brother Alberto. And I'm sure it was a really rewarding and fulfilling experience for both of them. But in terms of learning what he did from his older brother, I mean, you can't have a better example of how to lead a team and how to lead your team through a season and to a championship than what Fernando Mendoza just did. Like, this is like Hoosiers too, essentially. He just watched his brother pull off the impossible. I mean, Indiana was the least winning program of all time just 2 years ago. And Fernando Mendoza helped turn that around, and Alberto Mendoza watched every single step of that. He's going to be able to lean on his brother every step of the way at Georgia Tech, and 100%. I can't think of a better person to learn under for 2 years than Curt Cignetti based on his quarterback development and his quarterback system over the years. So Alberto Mendoza was in a perfect spot for this time period. Now he's going to have to do it at Georgia Tech.
Given all of that, I think people who are watching this are probably like, well, why didn't he stay with Indiana then? They did sign a transfer, Josh Hoover from TCU.
Yeah, Josh Hoover coming in next year, bro. Plus they got
Alberto did that he thought he would not
Nick
get
Marsh
that
from Michigan State, the receiver. Got a bunch of other guys coming in.
He's thrown for almost 10,000 career yards. If you look at the transfer,
Indiana, bro, they're gonna be a top 5 team next year too.
Like, the rankings.
I mean, they could go back to back. Like,
cracks the top 30. There's some
But as
questions.
an Ohio State fan, that ain't happening.
I would say long term, you also don't have a lot of experience to lean on.
We're gonna
for a team
bounce
like
back,
Indiana
bro.
coming off a national championship, you really want to feel certain that you can carry that momentum forward. And the best way to do that is with a proven passer, as we've seen recently out of the portal. So Josh Hoover kind of gives them that
we reacted to a good bit of TCU games too with Josh Hoover.
Element,
I mean, bro,
they'll need.
Him going to Indiana,
I think for Kurt Signetti, it's about timelines, right? You're coming off a national championship. You're in year 2, what was supposed to be a rebuild, and now you're a national champion there in Indiana. When you have a guy like Josh Hoover that can step in and take the reins from Fernando Mendoza, it's a little bit different than a guy like Alberto Mendoza. We've seen this really with all the contenders around the country, whether it's
I like this for Georgia Tech,
taking over the reins from Dylan Gabriel, right? We've seen just kind of the lineage of passers. Dylan Raiola now waiting there in Eugene. Sam Levitt taking over for Garrett Nussmeier. These teams that want to contend and play for a national championship, they have the distinct luxury of being able to attract some of the best passers in the country. That's not a knock on Alberto Mendoza, but when you talk about a guy that's only played 120 snaps and thrown only 25 passing attempts, that's not simply an option for Kurt Signetti at this point.
I do like some of the descriptions of Josh Hoover, that he carries himself like a CEO, which kind of reminds you of Fernando Mendoza, who is obviously off to the NFL. Okay, transfer portal news. There's a lot of it. There's a lot of drama. Like, this is my new favorite reality show. I am tuned in. Let's start with Darian Mintz. There's a lot of drama.
But that's going to do it. Alberto Mendoza is headed off to Georgia Tech after winning the national championship with his brother, bro, which is just crazy to say, man. Just gonna say it one more time, bro. Like I said, congrats to Indiana. You know, what a run it was for the Hoosiers. You know, they had to earn that, bro. Played a lot of tough teams, bro. Just think it was supposed to be a rebuild. Like, one of the best stories ever, bro, for real. And Fernando Mendoza deserves it 100%, bro. And back to Miami, Carson back, hell of a season. You know, they just fell short, bro. You know, they'll be back next year, bro. But yeah, congrats to Indiana. And just think they got Hoover coming in next year, bro. They got Nick Morris. Like, Indiana, like I said, they're gonna run the table again next year too. They're gonna be a top dog. But yeah, Alberto headed off to Georgia Tech. We'll see what he can do with Georgia Tech. But yeah, make sure y'all follow the socials on screen. Much appreciate. I love y'all. About peace.